if it's going.
It's rolling.
Oh, neat. What was that squealing sound?
Well, on that note, we're going to welcome everybody back to Five's a Crowd. I'm Zach, and I'm going to host today.
Hi, Zach.
No more Cam and Austin. It's going to be about Zach tonight.
He's our guinea pig.
But let's introduce the round. We got Cam.
Hey, y'all.
Tony.
Hello.
Chris.
Why, hello.
And Austin.
How you doing?
I like it. You sound like Joey from Friends.
And we decided tonight, if you didn't get a glimpse of it from our last episode, we want to shoot into urban legends.
Ooh, yeah.
Kind of dipped and dived into it last episode. Not a lot, but brought it up a little bit.
A little taste. Give it a little salt on the tongue.
A little lick.
Speaking of licking.
Jump right in.
Jump right in. That takes us, you know what, Chris? Give us our first little tale.
Oh, he's not doing licking.
Oh, you're doing the licking?
Someone's licking.
We're not even a minute in and we're already talking about lots of licking.
I'm intrigued.
Lots of licking.
I want to know, though, Cam, what's an urban legend?
Urban legends. So an urban legend is basically, it's some sort of myth or legend that's passed on, usually orally, sometimes, everyone stop smiling, sometimes through like or text or whatever, but it's a story of some kind of like crazy event or creature or just creepy things, usually passed off as being true and usually coming from some sort of relation, you know, like my brother's friend's cousin told me, or I heard that this girl at work's great aunt saw this kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of, it's one of those crazy like mythological things that's passed on from person to person.
Makes sense.
All kinds of crazy. I know we've got a lot of crazy ones. Like I feel like we grew up in a time, especially kind of to make us sound real old, pre like cell phone era.
Yeah.
A lot of these things were passed on almost to like teach lessons, it feels like, but they kind of took on a life of their own.
Yeah.
Like what are some of the most classic ones you remember?
Well, we got Bloody Mary.
Of course.
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary.
About the only one I can really remember. I just remember being in first grade, and that's when I finally did it by myself.
What?
I did it by
first grade?
I did it by myself. In,
I like how
in the
he,
bathroom
like,
at school.
Animal.
I turned off all the lights and I did it.
Dude, that room's scary enough with the lights on.
Animal.
Prefaced it with like, I waited all the way up until I was in first grade. He's like, dude, I wasn't like high school.
I remember. It was like first or second
Zach's
grade.
like, I'm finally getting a soul.
I think that's why she didn't appear, because I didn't have a soul.
Can I have one of your extras?
I remember you just saying elementary. I remember in elementary, in one of the bathrooms, the mirror was cracked in the corner, and all the kids said that's where Bloody Mary tried to come out.
Dude, kids are demons.
Right.
They're
Wow.
scary little buggers. But for those of you who don't know, which I feel like wouldn't be a lot of people, but Bloody Mary is essentially the urban legend that you go into a bathroom, only lit by candlelight, from the way I've heard it, right?
Or some kind of light.
Yeah.
I think you just have to have a dim lighting.
Dim
somewhere.
lighting.
And then you just what do you do, Chris?
So-
you like this one.
There's different ways of doing it. Some people, it's you stare at yourself in the mirror and you say Bloody Mary's name, and it varies between 10 and 47 times or whatever it is.
I always thought it was 3.
I always thought it was 3 too.
That's
I
too
thought it was
easy.
13.
That's easy. I'd have gotten 10. So you do another part of it was some people say you get your hands wet, put your hands on the mirror, stare at yourself in the mirror, say Bloody Mary longingly, and say Bloody Mary, and at that point either your face would disfigure or you'd see Bloody Mary staring at you through the mirror, and she would try to get out. So there's different depiction of what she did too. One of them would be she'd just stare at you to try to scare you. Another one would be she'd try to get out of the mirror to steal your eyes.
She ever try to pull you in?
She'd try to steal your soul. She'd try to grab your soul and trap you in the mirror.
That's why she never appeared to me. I don't have a soul.
That's
She's
it.
like, waste of time.
Come on, Ginger, again.
They just keep breeding. But My bad. I love you. I do. Professing. So
can I ask this? I don't know. Maybe you'll know. Who's Bloody Mary?
So
it's got to come from somewhere.
There's different stories about that too. Some
This is
say,
what I never understood.
So some say it was Bloody Mary because that was the nickname of Queen Elizabeth VIII.
Yes. That's what I always heard.
So she
had a lot of people killed.
She had a lot of people killed, but she also couldn't get pregnant. And she was supposed to give an heir. And she never could. And she had a false pregnancy, but she'd kill her suitors or whatever, claiming they're Protestant. And that's the way she'd kill them because they were trying to convert to Catholicism at that time. So I dug pretty deep into this. And the main one I could come up with is in the 18th and 19th century. There was an old woman who lived in a cabin away from a town. And this is Europe. And she would make herbs and sell them to the town. And young daughters started disappearing in this town, young girls, and they couldn't find where they were. And so some of them finally got the courage to go talk to this lady. And they noticed that she was an old hag and she started looking younger and younger and younger. And so in the middle of the night, one night, one of the townsfolk had a toothache and she was out dressing her toothache. And her daughter, almost entranced, walked out the door.
Ooh.
And was walking towards this glowing light at the edge of the woods. And she's screaming and trying to stop her daughter, and her daughter keeps pulling away. And they start waking up the townsfolk, and they come out and they see the old lady at the edge with a wand, and she was calling the child in. And from what the legend goes, well, they ended up killing Bloody Mary and burning her at the stake. And
as one does with a witch.
Yeah, so she screamed out. She screamed out that I'm going to get vengeance. I'm going to steal your soul through a mirror. But they go to the
very specific thing to yell on the stage.
That's what they say. Something to that degree. Something to that degree.
When an idiot lit a black candle.
But
a virgin. A virgin.
So they did that, and they burned her, and they went to her house, and they found that all the kids were in unmarked graves and their blood had been drained. So they thought she was drinking their blood for youth to regain her youth. But then there's a ritual to where the ritual kind of emerged with the legend of Bloody Mary, to where a bride to be would hold a candle and a mirror, walk up the stairs backwards, and then turn around, look in the mirror, and she could see her husband in the future. So she could either see her husband. If she saw a skull in the mirror, that means she wasn't going to live long enough to get married. Yeah.
Oh,
so
gross.
I think they kind of merged those two things together.
Interesting.
Kind of interesting. I got down the rabbit hole.
Dude, I like that though. It's cool to see.
Gives me
Like
the creeps.
we're
I
actually
lie. That
just
portion gives me the creeps.
realistically
Walking backwards.
eerie, huh? I'm going to do
Oh
it.
yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Freaking Bloody Mary.
You see who your bride will be.
I'm going to see who my bride is.
Who your groom will be or whatever.
My groom. Yeah.
Dude, along with that, one that always creeped me out as a kid was the urban legend about the guy who, like, he goes to like a bar or something, and he like starts hitting on this beautiful woman and she's all into him. Well, then the last thing he remembers is he's like going home with this girl. Then he wakes up the next morning. He's in a bathtub full of ice with a note taped to him next to a scar that says, "Call 911, your kidney's gone." Do you remember that?
Oh,
I remember that.
At least she wasn't a heartbreaker, you know?
No, she was a kidney taker.
I remember seeing like a YouTube video of some guys pulling a prank on their buddy.
Yes. Yeah, no, like it was, I remember it being a pretty big legend.
It
and,
was,
like,
yeah.
Because then they would sell the kidney.
They would sell the kidney on
black
part
market.
Snatchers or whatever is what it was, yeah.
Like there's movies about it. It's in TV shows and stuff. Like I remember being so scared as a child that somebody was going to take my kidney.
That's why you don't meet random women at the bar.
Exactly. Especially when you're 10.
Now, where'd you meet Shaylee?
Not at a bar. And I still have both kidneys.
At the Genius Bar.
Oh, no.
Oh.
And I never did Bloody Mary.
Dude, I never would.
Yeah.
No.
Because I didn't want her to take my kidney.
See, it's all coming together. It's all coming together.
One of the ones I always liked was the dog licking story.
Back to licking.
Yes. Now, I've heard that there's a couple variations of the overall story, but the one I heard is so this teenage girl is home alone for the first time, and she is watching the news, and she hears that a killer escaped, and so she gets scared, locks all the doors and windows. Oh, I forgot to mention, so she's home alone, but she does have her dog as company. Her dog is a big, beefy dog, one not to mess with. But yeah, so she gets scared after hearing the news, locks all the doors and windows, but forgets to lock the basement.
Always the basement first.
Right? So she goes to bed.
Amateur hour?
Right? So she goes to bed, and she lets the dog sleep under her bed as comfort. Well, middle of the night rolls around, and she hears this dripping noise coming from the bathroom, and it freaks her out. So as comfort, she puts her hand down to the side of her bed, and the dog gives her or licks her fingers as kind of a comforting.
I don't like where this is going.
Like, hey, I'm here.
I'm getting the chills already.
Yeah, I don't
So-
like this story. Fast forward.
You guys don't know this story?
No.
Oh, bro, keep going.
Yeah.
So then dog licks her fingers, so she feels comforted. Everything's good. She goes back to bed. So the morning rolls around. She wakes up. She walks into the bathroom, and her dog is mutilated, hanging in the shower. The dripping noise she heard is the dog's blood hitting the bottom of the tub. And on the mirror, in the dog's blood, it says humans can lick too.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I got
No,
the
dude,
chills on that
In the
one.
same
Wow.
in the same vein as that story, there was the other one where two girls called roommates, right?
I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
Oh, get
Gosh.
ready for this one. Two girls, they're college roommates. One of them's kind of they always paint her as like a more like a kind of a religious person, like a more goody girl type thing. And then the other one was kind of, like to get down, like to get a little busy from time to time. Floozy, as one would say. Well, anyways, the goody girl, she's out like studying one night, taking a test.
Sorry.
She's out studying, taking a test. She's out all night, right? And it's not uncommon for her to come home and her roommate's doing some stuff with a friend or whatever.
Doing a little hanky
A little hanky panky.
Hank to the pank.
Well, anyways, she comes in and she's about to turn on the lights, and she hears her roommate and decides, I'm not going to disturb him. I don't want to see anything. I'm just going to bed. Well, she goes to bed, wakes up the next morning to find that her roommate is dead. She was murdered. Then, written in blood on the wall, it says, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights?"
Yikes!
Yeah.
Okay.
With the dog story, though, what if they had a cat? Does the guy just use some sandpaper?
No, the guy loses. Cats are the devil.
Well, the cat in that story, the cat murders the teenager. This is all over the
And then it
place.
says, "Lick this."
And then poops everywhere but the litter box.
It says, "Lick this in the wall. It's made of pee." Because the cat's mad.
The girl wakes up in the middle of the night to the.
That was a terrible
Hairball.
gagging noise.
That's
That
a
was-
hairball.
Sound of the hairball coming up.
Oh,
I think
That
sounded like
Exactly what they sound
that
like.
more
Yes.
sounded like a bed squeaking.
that's exactly what I
I
thought.
hear it now.
It's a.
In the post, you're gonna hear.
You gotta hear a cat then. So
What about-
so I gotta hurry and say on the whole hanky panky thing, one of my favorites.
Hanky Panky.
Yeah.
I love hanky panky.
So this one, I think when I read it, it's the story started back in the 50s, and it's where boyfriend girlfriend pull off on the side of the road. They start getting a little busy. Well, then on the car radio, it comes on that not far from where they were at, a serial killer had broken loose out of the mental institution and this serial killer had a hook for a hand.
As one does.
Correct. Yes.
I know what you did last summer.
Yes. Although that was
He held him up in his
That
hand.
was a fisherman's hook.
It's kind of Candyman style, like shoved into the stub.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Nice.
Harley.
Hook stub.
So anyway, they kind of overhear that. They get scared. They decide to head home. Well, when they get home, they get out to find.
Well, wait, don't they hear? They hear noises.
She's getting freaked out because she's hearing.
That's what it is.
rustling.
So they
Yeah.
hear the thing on the radio. Then they hear noises
Like
and
kind
stuff,
of tapping or like hitting against the car. And
like a
stuff that.
scratchy sound. Yeah. So they get freaked out and go home. When they get home, and again, there's a couple different variations. They find the hook, and they find it in the car door, like actually in the car door or hanging off the car door handle. I heard one where it's hanging off the back bumper. But
So is this thing not actually in his arm then?
no, it is, but it's like the bloody hook, as if he like they drove off and it took his hook out of his
Gotcha.
arm.
Okay.
And then I was just gonna hurry and say I heard another one where it's the
There's
the-
a scratching on the roof.
yeah.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
That's where I was going to go to.
yeah, the car like runs out of gas or whatever.
Yeah, so that's the one I was going to play off of that one. So it's basically, it actually started, I actually looked deep into it. There's like different variations of it, but it started out in like the 1920s, 1930s, up in Syracuse, New York. There's a stretch of road that has like basically 13 windy roads type thing. And on that seventh wind, it's called, what is it called? Like the Devil's Fork or, some weird,
Devil's Loop.
yeah, some weird thing like that. It's
Devil's
that,
Arch.
It's that,
Devil's spine.
it's that,
Curve.
it's that seventh turn. Then maybe that's what it is. The Devil's Turn.
Devil's Hips.
Anyway. Oh,
turn. No, I said turn.
Yeah. Anyways.
Whatever it is, that's
Whatever
what
it
I
is. Anyway.
Devil's
So,
involved.
A femur.
so they get around this turn and the car runs out of gas. And this is a newlywed couple. So they're going on. They're just got married. She's in her wedding dress still. And anyways, guy's like, hey, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get some help.
You never say I'll be right.
Right.
You never are.
And he basically just tells her, hey, just wait in the car. Hide out in the back seat type thing. And then I'll come back. And when you hear 3 distinct taps, you know it's me. So she hears, waits, falls asleep, ends up waking up to a tap. And she's like, okay, there's one. Here's another one. Here's another one. And she's about ready to open the door. You gotta hear the taps. Anyways, tell me not to tap the table. Anyway, she starts hearing more after that. And so she freaks out. And she kind of just stays hidden. Next thing you know, she falls asleep again. And they tap on her window. She wakes up. It's the cops. And they pull open the door and they say, hey. And she goes, where's my husband? Did he come and get you? And they're just like, no, we saw your car stranded here. Just come out of the car. Don't look back. And she decides to get out of the car and she ends up looking back. And her husband is hanging above the tree limb above their car. And the tap she heard was the feet tapping against the top of the car. And then to play off of that as well, now up in Syracuse, New York, they say where these switchbacks are. They said that people drive it and they swear that now they see a woman in a wedding gown off the side of the road. They have stopped and said, hey, can I help you? Are you lost? Anything like that? And she just basically kind of is crying, looks just distraught. And all of a sudden she just kind of disappears. And yeah. So they basically, the rumor is if you see a woman on that 7th switchback, you just keep driving.
So these cars, do they not have windows?
Well, yes, they do.
What do you mean?
Like, why do they need to tap to get into the car?
Because she's in the back seat hiding.
She's asleep.
She's under.
Or she falls
she's
asleep.
under something.
He basically
so her face
just,
is covered.
yeah, he's like basically, so makes it look like if someone's walking past the car, driving past, makes it look like there's nobody in there.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. Creepy.
That plays off of the Vanishing Hitchhiker. Have you guys heard of that one?
I actually haven't.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
So the Vanishing Hitchhiker is the same thing as a woman. It's a woman who's you're driving through and she hitchhikes. Scared. She hitchhikes for a ride to get a ride home. And she'll get in the car and you'll try talking to her, but she only gives you brief answers. Where are you going? She'll give you an address. You take her home, and then when you drop her off, there's a piece of clothing that's left in the
Is this one of
vehicle.
those escort services?
No. I mean, ghosts
Maybe.
need love too.
Yeah.
So she'll leave a piece of clothing in the vehicle, and you'll go back to take the piece of clothing to the home, and there'll be somebody there, and you'll say, "Oh, so-and-so left her clothing in my car." And they'll proceed to tell you that she died so many years ago
In a car accident.
in a
right?
car accident at the spot where you supposedly picked the hitchhiker up. But there's stories that go across the nation that refer to that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine living
Large
at that house and
Marge
people
sent me.
constantly bringing you articles of clothing? Oh, for
Right?
crying out loud!
And then they turn around and just like evaporates.
No, there's a YouTube video we watched it years ago, and it's probably fake, but man, it seemed legit. Where they're filming it, it's all just kind of like handheld filming, and they see the woman walking down the road, and they decide to pick her up, and she just looks distraught. She just sits there, and she's got the blank stare on her face, and the person with the camera, if I remember right, is sitting in the back seat, and they'll film the two sitting in the front seat. Then they turn the camera on the girl that they just picked up. But every time the camera's on the girl they just picked up, the picture gets fuzzy. And they're trying to talk to her, trying to get a story out of her. And then all of a sudden, at one point, if I remember right, at one point, she kind of goes, "Oh, there it is," and stuff. And they're like, "There what is?" And she's like, "That's where I died." And right as they do that, the camera turns to her and she's like, "Oh," and like,
I remember
her
that
face gets
video,
like,
dude.
"Ah."
I remember that video.
Yeah. And it was,
we
like,
need to find it
freaky.
again. Dude, that one
But
was creepy.
that's what that reminded me of.
Well, so many of these it's funny how a lot of these almost tie into each other.
I guess that's what I'm noticing is a lot of these are just play off
yeah.
of
little
another
bit.
one.
I imagine you could make a movie where one person goes through and experiences all of them before getting to the end and then dying. But
Almost did.
So,
no, it reminds
speaking
me.
of, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it reminds me of this one, another one that has to do with the car. So a woman's driving off always some like back road place, usually forested, and she pulls up to a gas station late at night. She pulls up and she proceeds to like pump her gas. Well, then the gas station attendant, like she tries to pay for it. The gas station attendant comes out and he's like, "Hey, your card declined. I'm going to need you to come inside and try it again or try something different." And so she's like, "Okay." So as they walk in, the gas station attendant tells her, "Your card's fine. There's somebody in your back seat. Somebody with a knife." And so the story plays out in a couple different ways. One way is either the woman is scared of the attendant, and so she doesn't go inside and she immediately jumps in her car and drives away. Or she does and they figure it out. But typically what happens is she gets scared, gets back in her car, drives away, then is followed by another car that's flashing their lights at her.
Yeah.
And so then she freaks out because she thinks she's, being chased down by, I think it's the gas station attendant. He gets in his car and follows her. She thinks she's being chased by this guy. She's freaking out. She gets home, jumps out of her car. The gas station attendant pulls up again. And he's like, "There's someone in your car." And every time he would flash the lights, it was because the guy was about to stab her, and he'd flash his lights and the guy would hide.
Yeah.
And every time she looked around. And so the moral of the story was always check your back seats.
I think
Which
I heard
I'm
that
not
because
gonna lie,
didn't
I do.
I do too.
the gas station attendant see him like crawl in on the opposite side that she was pumping
Yes.
gas? He crawls in through her door and he sees it on the security footage or something.
And talking about checking parts of your vehicle, there's another one to where it's a story of a killer. So when you go up to your car to get in your car and you're trying to put this is back before they had keyless entry.
You actually had to put the key in the door.
Take a moment.
you would go to turn the key to unlock the door, and there'd be somebody hiding underneath your car who had a knife who would slit your... Austin loves this one.
I'm
you
gonna
don't
murder
know.
you.
Austin is terrified of anything messing with his Achilles tendon.
Ugh.
It is a phobia of his, and so this is his favorite story.
Even if you just try to touch it, just a little.
I will punch.
He is. Look at that arm, like the veins are bulging.
All I did was reach. That's all I did.
He would slit your Achilles and drag you under the car and murder you.
God. How short was this man? Have you ever tried crawling underneath a car that's not jacked
Hey,
up?
back in the day, some of those cars stood
A
up.
lot of those
pretty
cars
high.
are kind of high.
Yeah.
Were they?
The Eagle cars. What
They
was that? The
actually pretty
Eagle.
were.
The Jeep Eagle or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, all I know is getting underneath a running car without a jack, that exhaust gets hot.
Well,
I'm calling BS.
That's why they call it a psycho killer.
Well, the car's been parked for a while.
Yeah, like think of like being in a parking garage. You come down to your car
Picture
after
this.
a game or something. You're walking up and stuff, fumbling with your keys, and all of a sudden, bam!
I'm gonna punch you in the crotch.
Once he's not
snaps
even,
up
he's
the
not
back
even
of your
necessarily-
head.
Think about it though. He's not under your car. He's under the car next to your car.
Here's what we're gonna see now.
As you're
We're
checking
gonna-
your back seat because of the other killer.
And then you open the car door and there's a man eating this gigantic tomato that's dripping down his chest. And what comes out of the tomatoes? A bunch of spiders
I hate
that
you so
envelops him.
Here's what we're gonna see now: is we're gonna see Austin walking out to his car every time, and he's gonna
He's just gonna be
immediately
jumping.
lay down on his stomach and check the bottom, or he's gonna just jump into his car as quick as he
I'm
can.
gonna start-
just a bunny hop into
He's
his
like,
car.
Jess, can you open the door? I'm just gonna jump.
It reminds me like
Take a flying leap.
I'm gonna start hiding a box cutter underneath his car.
Oh.
randomly.
I'm pretty sure all of us have done this though. Like when you go into your room and you stand at the doorway and you turn the lights off and then jump from the
You
doorway
leap of
into
faith
bed.
into the bed.
Yes.
No, that's more going up the stairs. It's turn off the lights and book it up the stairs
Oh,
as quick
so-
as
That's
you
high
can.
stepping.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you did a high step up
Especially
those
a stairway that there's like an open underneath so they could get you from under the stairs.
stairs. Yes, they just reach through. Oh my gosh.
Who has those kind of stairs?
Freaking rich people who want to get murdered.
I saw a
You
little
got one?
funny video about that, and it was basically this guy. He's at the bottom of the stairs, and he turns off the lights, and he books it all the way up, and he hits the kitchen with all the lights on, and all of a sudden it shows this guy on the stairs come up with the knife, and he stops and goes, "Oh, crap!" Turns back around, walks back down the stairs.
Well, speaking of flashing your lights, do you guys remember the urban legend where like you'd be driving down the street and you'd see someone who didn't have their lights on?
They made a movie
And
about
you-
this called
yeah.
Urban Legends.
And you always, there's a movie about all of the things he's talking about. You flash your lights, which is courtesy to say, hey, your lights aren't on, basically.
Yeah.
But then the car would flip around, follow you, and then they'd cap you because it was a gang initiation. They just shoot y'all.
This urban legend.
That's actually
Lance.
not an urban legend, I don't think. Isn't
I
that
think it
actually
is.
a gang?
Well,
It
here's
started
the
out
thing,
that
though.
way.
Here's the thing, though. With a lot of these, some urban legends I was looking up have come true. But what came first? The urban legend?
chicken or the
which, Exactly.
well, thanks for telling me this,
Urban
because I ain't
legend.
flashing my lights at anybody anymore.
Did the urban legend inspire the action, or did the action inspire the legend?
That's what you don't know.
Exactly.
I think one like that, I feel like the light flashing story has to be before the gang initiation.
Well, look at the hitchhiker. There's actually stories of people dying.
Mhm.
And then, so like one of them's North Carolina, Utah 70A, a highway.
So it's funny you bring up Utah. So I have a friend who
I didn't.
grew up.
You said Utah.
I said, did I?
You
You
did.
did. You said Utah.
You said Utah U70A.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's North Carolina. I'm not
You
way
didn't
off.
say North Carolina.
I heard that. You said North Carolina, Utah U70A.
Well, I have a friend. This
Oh,
is like,
yeah, I'm okay. I-78.
this is
bad.
an actual like urban legend that I know because I'm telling you as a friend of a friend. So my buddy, his ex-wife grew up in the area of Utah by Skinwalker Ranch. If any of you know about that, I'll go into detail a little bit.
You need to.
But basically, the story is if you were in this grew up in this area, and you were driving down the road, you did not pick up hitchhikers. Like they told their families told their kids, do not pick up hitchhikers. In fact, they told them to not even look at them, because they'd be driving down the street, middle of winter. You'd see a guy off walking on the street, and he was driving with his wife once, and he saw him, and he's like, "Should we pick this guy up?" And she's like, "Do not look at him. Drive." And like she would not stop. She would not talk about it. She would just go. Well, apparently, like there's so many weird things happen in this area of Utah because it's a lot of old like Native American land around there, and there's belief that it's cursed. There's a lot of supernatural stuff that happens, and so they just don't pick up hitchhikers because people disappear, people end up dead.
I heard that they call them skinwalkers for whatever, because they are supposedly shapeshifters.
Exactly, skinwalkers are Native American shamans, or like witches, basically. And they shapeshift from animals to people, and they are straight up malevolent. They're malevolent beings.
Yeah.
So there's no good that comes with them.
I have a Native American friend who's told me stories of skinwalkers from southern Utah. And he would say that
A lot of them don't like to
the
talk about it.
officers on the reservation there'd be stories of like a dog track turning to human tracks, and they're from murders and stuff like that. And that terrifies me, because the way he would tell the story, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, my dad did this," and at first I was like, "Yeah, okay," but his dad one day was sitting there and he just was telling the story and started crying, and I was like, "Oh, okay, he wasn't full of crap," like because my buddy, he was known to like lavish stories, and so I was just like, "Okay, this is crazy story," but then his dad tells it and starts crying. And it's like, ooh, like just hits you to the core.
They get scared. So I'll go into it. Like, have any of you heard of Skinwalker Ranch at all?
No.
I've heard of it.
I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about
Yeah,
it.
I know
Crazy
Skywalker Ranch.
stuff. Yes, cool place. Not as crazy. But Skinwalker Ranch. So it's this large piece of land in kind of northeast Utah, and basically, it's a big ranch that's built on what used to be sacred Indian reservation. And a lot of the Native Americans that lived in this area actually wouldn't even populate that area of the land because of skinwalkers.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So the story goes, and this is all documented like by this family that bought it. They moved up here from Arizona, some ranchers. They bought the land, moved up here trying to just start a new life, get out of where they were. Well, almost the first day they're there, they're unpacking their truck. They're, putting stuff in the house. Off in the distance, they see this massive wolf kind of like come out of these trees, right? Well, this wolf comes kind of walking up to him, but right away the dad realizes, he's a hunter. The dad realizes this wolf is abnormally large.
It's Jacob.
Massive, way bigger than Jacob. Jacob was a runt. Massive wolf, right? So the dad it gets real kind of worried, curious, and cautious at the same time. So the family are all watching. Well, this wolf comes straight towards them. And it's kind of like prancing. It's not like aggressive. It's really just kind of curious. Well, the thing gets up to him, and he describes, this man's probably like 6'3", 6'4". He describes this wolf being the height of his chest. So massive, massive animal. Well, anyways, the wolf's like being friendly, and they're kind of cautiously like, "Oh, hi," like, "Okay, interesting." Well, they had near them where they're unloading, there was part of their corral where they kept their calves. Well, one of the calves comes up and kind of pokes its head through the gate, and immediately the wolf grabs it by the head, grabs it around the neck, and starts to pull it, trying to like pull it through the gate. Everyone starts freaking out. The dad tells his son to run inside and grab the guns. Well, he picks up a bat and he hits this wolf in the back. Nothing. Thing doesn't even flinch, doesn't even move, ignores the dad completely. Wails on him again, still nothing. This thing is not flinching at all. It's pulling at this calf. Son comes out with the gun, hands the dad the handgun. The dad unloads 6 bullets into this thing. Nothing. Doesn't flinch, doesn't move, nothing. Dad asks for the rifle. So big old rifle. Shoots this thing, hits it kind of in the shoulder, and this large chunk of like flesh rips off of it. And at this point, the wolf lets go of it and kind of looks at him like, really? Like this is what we're going to do right now? Dad shoots him again, and another chunk of flesh kind of flies off. And this time the wolf is like thrown back a little bit. And the wolf decides like, I'm done. Turns around and starts kind of, running away. Well, the dad's like, I don't want this thing on my property. Like this thing is clearly dangerous, clearly not normal. So he goes chasing after it. Well, he starts running at it and it kind of starts getting a little faster, but it's like, it's getting away from him very fast. Mm-hmm. Goes into the clearing. Dad follows him, starts tracking him down, loses sight of him, but follows his tracks through the wooded area into another clearing. Well, when he gets there, the wolf is gone. And he follows the tracks and they stop dead and disappear. No more tracks. And like there's a river kind of nearby, but there's no way it could have leaped from where it was over the river to the other side. Like it was still pretty far from it. Uh-huh. But the tracks just stop. They're just gone. Well, they go and like they talk to this historian in town or whatever, and they're like pulling up a book about wolves. They end up finding one, and they're like, that's it. That is the picture that we saw of the thing we saw. Turns out that wolf they described is a dire wolf, which is a prehistoric wolf. Uh-huh. They're massive. They're much bigger than regular wolves. And they even get like, they had the flesh still and get it tested, and the flesh was by carbon dating thousands upon thousands of years old. Okay. And it's not the last time. They see this creature like a few more times. There's another time when they're driving in. Their property has a really long driveway, and they're driving in, and the wolf appears again, but then 2 more of these like dog creatures with it. And it follows them into the property, and they kind of freak out again and stuff. And like they talk to some local Native Americans about it, and a lot of them are very like hush hush, but they're like, we believe you've seen skinwalkers, essentially. But you definitely need to look into it because it goes on. There's all kinds of other crazy stuff, from supernatural to parallel universes to like cow mutilations. There's an instance where the dad's like tools would start disappearing, and they would like end up in a tree and stuff like that, like balanced on branches. And then the kid would have to move all these like this lumber, spend hours moving it, goes inside. His dad comes in like 10 minutes later. He's like, why haven't you moved the wood yet? And he's like, I did. It's all outside. Like I moved it where you wanted to. Goes outside. All the lumber is right back where it was. Huh. So crazy stuff. Anyways, this rich dude ends up buying the ranch from them and sends in a team of investigators and scientists to like try to find more about it. So crazy stuff right in our backyard. All kinds of just nutty freaking stuff, right?
Vacay,
let's go.
Jeez.
Austin, you've been awfully quiet.
Well, trying to piece together this huge old story that I'm wanting to remember. This one is kind of an interesting story that is, there's actually like documentation of it. You can actually go see the remnants of this, and the backstory is just wild. And how we came across it was also kind of unique. So Jess and I, a few years ago, we took a road trip to San Francisco. And on our way there, we traveled the north route. And so we went up through Nevada. And alongside Nevada, we're cruising on whatever highway this is. I think it was Highway 80. And just as we're getting into Imway in Nevada.
Utah 70.
Hey, 70,
and we see this weird looking kid standing arch thing just on the side of the freeway. We're like, what the heck is that? And so we're on the freeway, and I look at Jess, and she looks at me, and I'm like, should we turn around and go see what
investigate.
that just was?
I thought you were going to say, should we pick this guy up? And I was
No,
like,
no,
yeah,
no,
let's pick up the guy.
It wasn't the guy. It wasn't the guy. It was just a child. Anyway,
Okay.
we flip around. We go back, and there's this gigantic, it looks like a building made of roller coaster parts.
Oh,
That's like the best way to describe it. It's all these weird arches, all these crazy looking statues of kids holding hands, and like antlers and antler racks, and just all these crazy weird bone structures just everywhere. And it is eerie. So we decided we're going to go check this out. So midday, we go and we park, and we're walking in, and we find out it's this place called Thunder. I want to say Thunder Mountain. Oh my gosh, I have it pulled up. 1 second.
He's in Nevada.
Thunder
It's called
Mountain.
Thunder Down Under.
I want to say it's called Thunder Mountain Monument is what it's called.
That sounds familiar.
And it's about, anyway, digging into it. And I cannot describe how creepy this thing is. This guy literally went mentally insane and just started piecing together this really creepy, artsy in his mind building that he wanted kids to be able to come to and enjoy. And it is every bit as creepy as you could imagine. So that just all these noises, Cameron just pulled up a picture. It is very creepy.
Is that it?
That is it. That's called Thunder Mountain Monument.
Thunder Mountain Monument. Yeah, look it up while you're listening to this. It's super creepy.
And so I cannot express this enough. We're walking around this monument, and there are all of these random things, super random. The building is like, there are portions of the building made of like engine blocks and fused together glass and bone and dolls and literally anything you can find.
Is the guy still alive?
No. So in doing some research on this guy, his name was Frank Van Zandt. He was born in 1921. He enlisted in the army and joined to go fight for World War II. And while he was on his tour in Europe, there was a moment where he almost was
Almost
blown
bit the
up.
dust.
Yeah, he almost bit the dust. He was almost blown up by a bazooka.
Ooh.
And so when he came back, he had a lot of PTSD and a lot of mental issues. And so as he was kind of coming back and trying to heal and all this stuff, he went through a bunch of different cycles of life. He remarried a few different times. At one point, he decided he was going to try and be a minister for a Methodist church. I don't know if he actually made it. I can't recall. But he was either denied. And so on the next thing on his list, then he decided he was going to be a law enforcer. And as he... Oh, yeah, dude. Super creepy stuff.
Jeez.
As he went into law enforcement, he decided that was a perfect job for him. And so he was a police officer, and then he wanted to become a sheriff. Didn't get to be a sheriff, and so then he quit and decided he wanted to be a private investigator. And he just did all this stuff. And as he was a private investigator, he went on a tour in like California. I want to say in like Yuba. Is that right? I think Yuba's in
Yuba or Yuma?
I can't remember. Either way, he was at some place in California, and he met this pack of Indians. Do you call them a pack?
You're packing them? A flock?
A flock. I don't know.
A group?
He met a group of Indians.
I don't know.
A tribe.
A tribe. There we go. That's
There
the
we
word.
go.
Man, we're dumb.
And as he's hanging out with this tribe, I don't know if he like smokes some peyote, but he has this like coming to, and he decides he's an Indian.
Oh.
And so then he delves way far into this, and he totally believes he's 100% Indian, and he gives himself the nickname Thunder Mountain.
Oh.
And so
Thinks highly of himself.
anyway, it was part of the Creek Nation, was the Indian tribe. And so he gets like just all wrapped up into this and decides he's just going to make this beautiful monument of peace and prosperity and all this weird stuff, and just goes off the rails. His family,
Just a little.
his family, you know, tried to help him as much as he could, and you guys can
It
see
just
the
got to be
building
too much.
in the middle of that building. As far as urban legend has it, he hung himself
Oh,
in the middle of that really tall vertical building,
structure.
and yeah.
Haunts it to this
And
day.
now it's just
It
this
looks like something out of
creepy-
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Should
extremely
make a
eerie.
hotel out of it.
And so Jess and I, while we were there, we were walking around it, and it was midday. I have never been more terrified in my life.
Which is just open to the public.
Oh yeah, you can go out over there, walk around it, explore the buildings. Oh yeah.
Just like crawl to your skin, terrified.
Oh, dude, yeah. It is just like you walk on that premise and you can tell that something
feel
is just not right.
Just
Oh,
feel
wow.
it
It
deep in.
Yeah.
gives you this
Yeah.
eerie, creepy, skinny, crawly vibe, and
Well,
you just
I
want
figured
to
out
get
where
out.
we're going on location.
There we go.
During the day. I'm not doing that at night. With how I
Wanna
felt,
spend the night.
it was literally noon. The sun could not have been higher in the sky, and I was more terrified there than I ever was at the Indian schools.
Oh
I
my
knew.
gosh.
It was terrifying.
That's just an eerie. Eerie's almost more terrifying.
I'm shaking
than-
Yeah,
because
it's
of
like
how I felt in that.
No, yeah. It's that eerie, just like creeped out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
That scares me more than paranormal.
Yeah. Now, Tony, I see
it
you're
is.
rustling through some, what is that?
Parchment.
Parchment.
You're what?
It's tree.
Six?
It's dead tree with ink on it, correct? I've heard of this paper stuff.
7 things, that you printed out. I didn't know printers existed still.
Just because I'm the poorest one at this table.
Boy, you got like $20 there in printed paper.
Yeah, bro, but freaking printer ink is like $50 a pop.
That's all in colored ink. I mean,
You got
You
what is
didn't
that?
even go black and white on that.
You got 30 sheets?
I may or may not have printed this at work.
Smart.
boss is like, hey, I got a lot of urban legends over here.
Smart. What stories you got in there?
I got a little bit of everything. There was a fun one. It was 7 urban legends specifically based in Utah.
Oh.
The popular one is the Bear Lake Monster.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, so
Same
so
as
they
Loch
have
Ness.
so they have never found the bottom of Bear Lake, nor have they ever found the bottom of Loch Ness in Scotland. There is a urban legend that somehow Bear Lake and Loch Ness are connected, and the monster in Loch Ness is the same as Bear Lake. Because the sightings of it looks like the same monster, creature, whatever you want to call it.
Scotland,
So,
it's named Nessie.
yeah.
In Utah, it's Bessie.
Now, Austin, you seem taken aback by that.
I'm sorry to interject in your story. I just wanted to finish on mine because I stand corrected, and it's even worse than I thought.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
So back on Thunder Mountain, sorry, I had to research this because I wasn't completely confident in my story ending. So back on to Frank Van Zandt or Thunder Mountain, Pope.
Poke Thunder Mountain.
It says right here, in 1983, the 3-story hostel house burnt to the ground, then the underground cave caved in. Anyway, Frank's wife left him because he went absolutely insane and decided to rebuild it. Where was it? Sorry. And at that same time, he had a 19-year-old son who had passed due to smoking. Get that.
Oh.
Lifelong stage of smoking. And it was at that moment in his life he decided to leave a farewell note on January 5th, 1989, on his son, and said the chief laid down on his sofa in the roundness and put a bullet through his brain.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, there's
That's how
a
that story ended.
lot of darkness at that place.
For real.
Yeah.
So that's what he called that building, the roundness.
The roundness.
Because when you're standing in it, it is a circular room,
Mhm.
and it's all. I mean, you saw it anyway.
Oh, weird. Anyways, back to Tony's park.
Sorry, ooh, that was creepy.
That is.
It's an old timing script.
That's those stories that dim the room.
You for
You
real.
know.
Who turned off the lights?
Another one, and we've actually, well, a couple of us have been there, is Hobbitville, as it's been come to be called. So I've always heard that it was a neighborhood built for little people, but on my parchment here,
Parchment.
it says that in the 1930s that Dr. and Mrs. George Allen built this for birds, and then later decided to build mini houses or tiny houses for people, and you can supposedly still rent them and stuff. But when we went there, this was an entire neighborhood that looked like it was built for little people.
For straight up little people. They even
Yeah.
had like a weird little hotel at the front,
Yeah.
remember?
Well, it wasn't a hotel. I think it
was like a tower.
We jokingly said that was the
That's true.
gatekeeper. It was like Gandalf.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Because the first time I went, it was that same night that I went to the abandoned hospital. I went with those
Yeah.
inebriated friends of mine.
It was the guardhouse.
And he told us that Gandalf lived in the big house.
Yeah.
And he
But, like,
protected
even
all the hobbits.
Was
Even
the big
the
house as tall as
dumpsters.
you were?
It was a normal house.
Oh.
Like, I just remember even the dumpsters and everything were
small.
like a fourth of the size of your
Yeah.
typical dumpster. Like, it was crazy. But the urban legend, though, is that supposedly they're, that they like did evil worshiping, like devil worshiping type stuff there. And, yeah.
Dang. They
so-
did have weird like altars.
They did. When we were there, we laid down on one of those altars as
Yes.
a joke. And they also had a table and chairs there that were also short. In
Yeah.
their playground that was short. And
The
they also
pool.
had a swimming
the
pool.
pool that was like
short.
not even a foot and a half deep.
Yeah, it was like a wading pool for like babies almost. That
Like,
size.
I mean, I'm pretty set on the fact that this was probably full of little people.
Well, and there was so here's
Remember the
thing.
one little house that like had a rope bridge
Yeah,
to
that's
it?
exactly what I was gonna say. There was one with a rope bridge to it.
Mhm.
But get this, I want to say it was last year. Had to have been a year and a few months ago. So not too long ago. We were down in that area and I wanted to go show Jess it.
Mhm.
Completely gone.
What?
Yeah,
I think I heard
it's
that.
no longer there.
What is it?
They tore it down.
They just took down all the houses
Uh-huh.
where the little people live in.
All the
I don't
devil
know,
worshiping
man.
going on. They
All
had to
the-
get rid of
all
it.
the
Yeah.
altars. Well, it was really close to a large college.
Westminster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I don't know what they did with it, but it's all
Weird. Dude, that place was wild.
Our childhood was wild.
Our childhood was great.
It was.
So there was one that I thought was kind of interesting. I did not realize it was an actual urban legend, but supposedly the Men in Black is
yeah.
an urban legend.
Yeah,
That-
but there's all kinds of stories.
yeah. So like this says that that they'll actually, so people who have supposedly witnessed UFOs or been abducted by aliens, that the Men in Black will show up and kind of harass them and different things to keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, going back to talking about Skinwalker Ranch, I said there was a lot of like paranormal and extraterrestrial stuff that happened. There are stories of people going there and being followed out by like a black car. Think like an old kind of Crown Victoria type car and two men in black suits in the car. Like kind of like pushing them out.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought
Dude,
that
they're
was
all
kind of
over the place.
interesting.
The Men in Black are kind of a creepy legend.
There were so many though. Like
man, they
diving
got some
into,
good music and good
So
dance
true.
moves.
one I thought was kind of creepy on here too was the Bunny Man.
The Bunny Man.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I learned about it in research for
Yeah.
this.
So I guess in 1970, So it started in Fairfax County, Virginia, but it spread throughout Washington, D.C. and stuff. But supposedly,
Sorry.
this was a guy dressed up in a bunny suit who would attack people with an axe.
Makes sense. Well, the way I heard the story was along the lines of a lot of these other ones. There was a bunch of mental patients being transported by bus. Bus crashed. Most died, and all those who got out were caught, except for one or two. The stories vary, one or two. Well, then in this same area is where they, a couple was driving by, and an axe came flying through their window. And when they stopped, they saw a man in a bunny suit.
Oh, jeez.
And they took off. And then there was another instance of a man on a bunny suit, like holding an axe on like a bridge.
That's like, remember a couple of years ago when it was like those people were dressed up as clowns?
They
Killer
came
clowns.
back.
Yeah.
Apparently this year there's been sightings as well.
Really? Oh, jeez.
So the killer clown, why people are afraid of clowns, that all was started by John Wayne Gacy, right? Or Gacy.
Gacy. That's a serial killer, right?
Because that's an urban legend too about killer clowns.
He would dress up as a clown and go to kids' birthday parties and stuff.
Well, how nice of him, psycho.
But
Now, what was the full-fledged story, though? Because I do know that, I know that extent, but where did the killing start?
I think he was a child molester.
Oh, was he just a
killer.
molester?
Yeah.
No, he was a serial killer. Like, I think he would. I don't know his exact target. Like, but I think he was a child killer.
Serial killer's classified as like 3 or more, isn't it? Murders.
I think so.
Pull it up, man.
There's a pattern.
There has to be a pattern. Yeah.
I'm curious because I do know I can see his face in my mind's eye, but I do not know his story.
Well, while you're looking that up, I got a real creepy one for you, and this one's not even in the U.S. So I found that some of these Japanese urban legends are way freakier.
Oh, I bet.
So there's one about the slit-faced woman.
Slit?
Slit.
Ugh.
Have any of you heard of this?
Oh, that just gave me the chills.
Oh, just wait a second. So apparently there's this woman, she's called the slit-faced woman, and she goes around in like the dark tunnels, dark like roads at night, and she wears a mask. And if she comes upon you, what she'll do is she'll walk up to you and she'll say, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" Like she'll ask you if you think she's beautiful. Well, there's 3 ways to answer this. 2 of them are wrong. One is you can answer and say, "Yes, you are beautiful." And she'll take her mask off and expose the slits. So the slits go from the edge of her mouth, like up. Think Joker, but like exposed innards. Like it's cut open. And then she'll be like, "What do you think now?" And then she'll either cut your face. No, she'll cut your face and try to kill you, basically.
Jeez.
Then, if you say no, she'll cut your face and then follow you home and massacre you in your house. So the only way to escape this slit-faced woman is you have to say, if she says, when she asks, I mean, "Am I beautiful?" you say, "So-so," and then you run away.
Oh my God.
What?
That is the story. You don't say yes or no. You say so-so, and then it confuses her, and you run away.
I thought you were going to say something like, "Do you think you're beautiful?"
You've got a beautiful smile.
You hold a mirror.
Got a beautiful smile.
Do you want one too? See, that's how you're dead.
You want to know how I got these scars?
I didn't have.
Oh, man.
Grody. But I mean, along that note, what are like, these are the urban legends, but I'm also very fascinated with like big old myths and legends.
Oh,
I was gonna say we touched about the animals earlier.
Yeah.
What about Tony's favorite, the
Bigfoot.
Big old feet.
or the Yeti?
Bigfoot, Yeti,
Abominable Snowman.
Do you think they're all the same, or they're all
I think they're a
related?
family.
I think it's like a species in a way where
Interesting.
depending on the country is kind of where it gets its name.
Here's the thing though, is I firmly believe that there's only like a handful out there. There's not like 10, 20. There's like literally 5 or 6. There's just a handful.
So are they eternal though?
That's the thing, are they?
So is it
ask
so
or
do you-
how the folklore goes?
Do you think it's more paranormal, or do you think it's more of
I've
there
heard
is,
stories.
species?
There is the religious story that
That's what I was gonna say.
Me
Here
too.
in Utah, it depends on.
there's a religious story where is it the Bible, Cain and Abel?
Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Cain and Abel, Cain killed his brother Abel.
Mm-hmm.
So God punishes Cain to walk the earth forever, but he disguises him as a hairy beast so that no one would recognize him and kill him.
Or they would basically fear him or chase him and all that
Right.
stuff.
basically,
right.
he's been.
To be persecuted.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's been basically shunned and is to walk the earth alone.
He can't walk through normal society.
Yeah.
Right. See, and I personally don't know if I believe that as I do. I just think that Bigfoot is its own
So-
species.
But there is a story from an early member of the church in Utah, Parley P. Pratt, in some of his
It
journals.
wasn't Parley P.
I
Pratt.
thought
It was
Joseph F. Smith.
It was like it was.
And this is why urban legends are
right.
born.
I was gonna say it was one of the LDS church prophets who was riding horseback and had the opportunity to meet him, and
Well,
he
he
said
was
he was on horseback standing
Riding by
he was-
corn, wasn't it?
yeah,
Like a field of corn.
Well, he was about 9 feet high, and Cain appeared to him basically, and they had a conversation.
Well, because he talked face to face to him while he was on a horse.
Yes, and so
Yes.
and he described him as Bigfoot-esque, like
Yeah.
meaning just muddy, dirty, hairy.
And he basically asked, "Who are you?" But taller. But then he asked him. He said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am Cain. I've been cursed to walk the earth for eternity."
Mm-hmm.
And basically the man banished him and peaced out.
Yeah. See, and the way that almost worldwide he has been described so similar everywhere. That's why it's a species that has its own kind of
Well, and that's
different
different, like
style, I guess.
different styles.
You know.
You got the white
winter
Yeti, you got the
coat
brown
and-
Yeti, you got the
there's
fall
But
Yeti.
like another name for it is the skunk monkey because
Oh, it has
of
an
its
odor.
smell.
That's right.
it's got a very, very unique smell. And again, almost anywhere they describe that smell and everything and
That's
just
the skunk ape, isn't it?
I mean, ape, monkey, same family.
yeah, just
All right.
either way it's got an opposable thumb.
The cabbage man.
Cabbage man. Dude, there's all kinds of stories. Remember there were stories of it like coming into like neighborhoods and like people would see it out by their trash cans.
So there's a guy who grew up about a couple blocks away. Not grow up. I grew up a couple blocks away from him. And anyways, I'm good friends with his, I want to say it's his nephew. So it's his grandpa or whatever. One of my friend's grandpa. Let's put it that. There we go. Anyways, he actually has a casting of a Bigfoot foot
what?
like that. He took himself personally. So the story goes that he said he was in his trailer. He got up one night, just thirsty, basically walked out to the kitchen, got a drink of water. And as he got a drink of water, he's just sitting there staring out the window. And all of a sudden this figure, so he's in this trailer up, his figure is just red beady eyes, just staring straight at him,
Oh,
just looking straight at him. And he's in this dark trailer, just okay. He sees it. They make eye contact. He just kind of finishes water, puts it in the sink and turns and walks away. Doesn't think anything of it till the morning time. And he goes, all right, it was pretty damp last night. It was kind of a rainy night. So he walked outside and there was actual footprints. And he took a molding of it, cast it. He has it to this day. Like I've legit seen it.
gross.
So
See, I believe wholeheartedly. I think he's real because
He's roaming around.
I don't know. You just hear about scientists and stuff discovering new species of animals all the time. Like there was that group of gorillas that were deep in the jungle that were kind of their own species of gorillas that these scientists never knew existed, and then they were able to find it. And I don't know. I just feel like I know he's out there.
So fun story, kind of going along with what Zach was saying. I had a friend on my mission. He was never my companion, but we were in the same area, so I knew him. His last name was Meldrum. His dad is one of the foremost authorities. His name's Dr. Jeff Meldrum. One of the foremost authorities of tracking Bigfoot.
Oh man.
If you look at all those shows that you'll see on History Channel, Discovery, whatever, where they actually are legitimately trying to track Bigfoot, his dad is the authority on that. He's always there. He's always implementing things. He's got all this evidence and stuff. So I remember having conversations with this kid about Bigfoot, and he legit, just as you, he's he is real. My dad's got all this evidence. He follows him. He chases him. He is real.
See, kind of on that, there is a documentary, if you have a chance to look it up. It's called The Russian Yeti, and it's based off of a true story. This is a legit story. Now, whether it was actually a Yeti or not, that's where the story could get a little shady. But the story itself, as far as what happened to these hikers, is real, and it happened somewhere in Russia. And this group of hikers, when they finally were found, they were found missing their eyes and tongue. There was one up in a tree that he was just frozen to death up in the tree. They found their tent, and the tent had a slit on the opposite wall of the door, and they were able to examine the fibers, and the tent was cut from the inside. So it was as if something was approaching the door of the tent, and they had to get out the other side.
And they tried to tear through it.
Yeah. And it was the story lines up that something attacked these hikers.
Yes.
And it attacked them like a predator would, where it went for the soft spots, the eyes, the tongue, different things like that. And
was it Predator?
I found this video. I found the video of this on YouTube going down a rabbit hole. It's called Dyatlov Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And and it all this crazy stuff, and they don't know. And some of them were found barefoot and naked, dead in the snow, a ways away. They were trying to continue to get, they got away from the initial thing and died over there. So yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it's
even got,
nuts.
I believe, recordings.
Yeah, because they had, it took place back in, 70s. I could be wrong on that. Yeah. But so they had a video camera of sorts, but I think it was actual film.
1959.
Yeah. Okay.
But from what I understand, they got recordings of weird noises.
Yeah.
Things that.
Well, and I think in the film, so what they could recover, they actually caught this creature in the trees and stuff, stalking them, basically.
That's right, because they knew it was following them for a while.
Yeah.
Gnarly, dude.
It was a bear.
Just kidding.
In Russia, Mother Russia, Bigfoot eat you.
So,
Chris is our country boy. What do you got about this?
Devil's advocate. I've spent a lot of times in the mountains hunting or doing.
You had an apple thrown at you.
Okay.
From Bigfoot.
Okay.
Maybe he doesn't like your smell carrying that pocket cologne around.
Let me clarify this. I want to believe so badly. I do.
You're going to break Tony's heart. I can see it right now in his face.
My opinion can't be changed.
So I want to believe so badly, but talking with hunters, and even listening to prominent hunters who hunt more than I do, that have never seen anything. And hunters spend more time in backcountry than anybody else that haven't had any sign of anything. And I'd like to believe, I really would. And there are weird circumstances that do turn my head, but I have a hard time with it because I just don't know. But that Russian story, it could have been a bear trying to get through the tent. They got out. The eyes and the tongue are missing. Birds are known to attack fleshy parts of that could have been taken by a crow or a raven. But it could have been Bigfoot.
See, and I think with that,
That's what we're saying.
Good segue.
But it could have been Bigfoot. I don't know.
See, and it's funny because I'm so passionate about Bigfoot, but then other things that could fall under the same category like Chupacabra or Loch Ness, that we mentioned earlier.
I don't think Bigfoot could swim.
Well, I know there's been sightings in Logan and everything.
Yeah,
Too.
I was gonna
mostly
say
like
Logan
mountainous
Canyon is
areas.
a very popular sighting
Yeah,
area.
I've heard stories about that highway. What is it, like a 5-lane highway, maybe more?
Are you thinking
With-
Sardine?
Yeah, Sardine Canyon. It's a wide highway because you've got 2 lanes northbound, 2 south, plus the giant median. And I've heard stories of him running across that highway in a matter of just a couple steps. And he's across. Like,
Bro.
but
It'd be cool. I don't know. Maybe we should.
Maybe
go
we'll
on
find
Bigfoot.
him. Maybe we'll befriend him.
Hey, all I know is it's 2020 and we don't have any HD 4K footage of this guy yet.
That's because
It's a valid point too.
that's true. But it's 2020 and people
Hey.
also still film in portrait mode.
haven't you seen
I was gonna
the...
say
But
the
at least
Geico
in high
commercial.
def.
That's true.
Is that what
Is
you're
that-
talking about? Or is it the
I just
Geico or is it?
I saw a meme where it shows a bunch of people sitting on a park bench, and it's like why Bigfoot hasn't been spotted, and he's standing right there like waving at the camera, and everybody's down on the phones. Like,
Well, there's a commercial. It's not Geico. It's Flo. Who's Flo?
Progressive.
Progressive. Yeah, it's a progressive one, and she's interviewing Bigfoot, and she just goes like, "What's going on?" And he goes, "I don't know. Everybody's just too busy now. Like, I even get in their pictures, and it shows a couple taking a picture. Oh, say cheese, and he's in the back doing a sighting, and he's like, nobody just notices me anymore. You know, and he gets all sad, and she goes, "Oh, Bigfoot, it's okay. I know you're sad." And he goes, "Bigfoot? My name's Frank." It was pretty funny.
see, and I also saw something, that famous footage in like Willow Creek, California, of him walking across the river where it's the infamous, the wide steps, wide arms and stuff. People were saying, oh, you could see the zipper. It's a guy in a suit. But with the tech now that they've been able to go back and review the footage, they can actually see muscle movement, like actual muscle movement in that picture.
Impressive. See, maybe
So
he
did they
knows
just click-
technology's getting better and he's hiding.
Did they just click that enhance button?
Oh, yeah.
Enhance.
Enhance. Enhance.
Enhance.
Enhance.
So
Can you scrub it? Clear it up a little bit.
the only way he could be real, in my mind, is if it is some paranormal thing. Because there would be sightings. If there was a breeding population of Bigfoot as a species, at some point it would be spotted.
That's why I kind of lend in my mind. Like I do have the feeling that he's there, but I do lend it more to it's an eternal beast who's been cursed to the earth kind of thing. Because
If I were to believe in this story, that in my mind is the most logical. Because
Yeah.
I cannot.
'Cause
I'm with
how
you.
would it breed? Exactly.
It couldn't have like a family. There couldn't be a pack of them. It couldn't be
No.
like you.
Pack of big feet.
You would have so much more evidence.
Isn't there a family of them in Harry and the Hendersons?
And they blend
That's
right
a
into the
movie,
trees.
Zach.
Well, that too. And then if the mind is a powerful
jerk.
thing. The mind is a powerful thing. So if you want to believe something so bad, your mind can rationalize and make it.
Well, and that's another thing I was going to bring up. By saying people see it across the world, it could be a form of groupthink. Like when you hear about it so much, you see something, your mind already says, well, that's probably this. And that's how people say the same thing across the world.
Like it exists.
But like Bloody Mary, so what with back to Bloody Mary. One of the things I noticed with Bloody Mary too is they say that people who say you're full of crap and you don't see Bloody Mary, there's actually a condition called disassociative identity effect. So if you're in a dim room staring at a mirror for 10 minutes, they did a case study of it, and people, there's percentages of it to where a certain percentage would see their face morphing. Another percentage would see a beast in the mirror. Another percentage of people would actually see a different face in there, because your brain in a dim lit room,
It's trying to process information.
it starts not being able to recognize itself. So your mind stops recognizing who you are in a mirror to where it can disfigure what you're seeing in the mirror.
See, I could see that, the whole mind trick thing, as far as like there's a local one called Flo. She's a ghost.
Yes, and
up in Ogden.
Yeah.
Where if you go up to this certain point, park, turn your lights off, supposedly she'll fly up over your car or something like
She
that.
tries to get in your car.
But
Like, she thinks you're her ride because she died there.
yeah.
Waiting
But
for
then
her
I've
ride.
heard that it's been debunked and that it's just by you turning your lights off,
Slow
it's your
death.
eyes it's your eyes focusing with the lights going off and different things. And yeah, but no, it's
So-
on the Bigfoot thing that there was just one thing I had to say on that show that used to be on, was it Finding Bigfoot or something?
Mhm.
And it was those group of guys and there was
That's where my friend's dad was. He was on that show.
See, but this was a different, because it didn't have like actual like scientists. Like there was one, his name was like Bobo.
We didn't have people with any actual authority.
Yeah.
That just sounded so
maybe it is
horrible.
a different
It's
one.
true.
So it's even worse than the one with scientists.
So basically, this group of guys with a crappy camera.
No, it was though. It was. It really was. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is this one? It had that guy Bobo or something, big old burly guy that he would always
Bobo.
reenact. Like they would go from town to town
do
getting eyewitness stories, and then they'd try and reenact it. They would camp out for a while.
That's
trying
Finding
to see.
Bigfoot.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was one episode. I loved it. I'd watch it, and then there was one episode I was like, all right, I'm out. Because they're out, it was like morning and they're cooking, and that Bobo guy, he's like sitting there, and he's cooking bacon. He's like, you want to make sure you're cooking the bacon downwind because Bigfoot loves bacon and stuff. So you want to make sure the smell gets out there. And then he takes it a step farther and he's like, you want to make sure you eat it because he's probably watching us right now. You got to make sure you eat it so he knows that it's not poisonous. I was like, okay, the most like mythical creature, and you happen to know he loves bacon.
Something is over the hill. Is that the one you're talking about in the preview?
Yeah.
Something.
And so,
Yeah,
and,
you're
and
right.
that was like, and I feel the same with like the paranormal ghost hunters and stuff, because I wholeheartedly believe in ghosts and the supernatural in that sense too. And I'm just like, that stuff can be faked so easily on camera.
But you've
I
had
just-
experiences with that.
No,
I
that's what I'm
just-
saying. I believe it, but my point is like those TV
They take it
shows,
too far,
They
and
take
it,
it
like,
too
ruins it.
far.
No.
And exactly.
I
yes.
just watched a ghost show. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a newer one. But same thing. Like all their sightings were like, "Oh, this is legit," and then they get to like the final episode, and they created this helmet that like shines this light on your eyes and allows you to see the ghosts. And he puts it on, and he's like, "Oh wow." They're everywhere. I'm like, come on! I'm like, this show was great until this very moment. You just ruined
Exactly.
everything.
Well, on that note, I think we will call this an episode. Whatever you guys believe, I'd say let us know in the comments. I mean,
For real. let
have
us
you
know.
have you had any sightings? Do you believe in Bigfoot? Have you had any scary things that's happened to you guys? Like legit happen?
What are some of your
Yeah.
favorite urban legends?
We want to know.
Yes.
This is stuff we want to know. This is our favorite stuff to talk about. And that's kind of why we chose this episode. We felt like it was very specific. We wanted to get into it. So
Maybe one day we'll revisit because there's more.
there's a lot more. There's a ton more. We could have gone forever, but we gotta call it a night. We're having way too much fun with this. So on that note,
It's a night.
y'all have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being part of this crowd.
Check under your
Later.
car.
I'm gonna kill you.